So guys, today we're going to be doing What If Naruto Was Betrayed and Became Deaf, or The One Man Apocalypse by Sinbad III, which is a Naruto and Darksiders crossover on fanfiction.net. You should go read it, it's pretty good. But, yeah. Also, the reason why I didn't upload yesterday because computer problems, which I use the computer to read these fan fictions. Don't worry, I will be doing What If Naruto with the Grim Reaper tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So yeah, be expecting that. But yeah, computer problems. So I usually use computer problems. My bad. I usually use computers and not my phone because my phone turns off after a few seconds, which is annoying. And computers just it's a bigger screen, so yeah, computer problems. And like I say in every video, you got any what ifs to recommend them down in the comments below. So anyways, let's get into part 4 of this what if. Chapter 5, Setting Things Right. Naruto sat high up on a hill that overlooked the forest area that made up the edge of Kiri. Naruto sat there with Hinata, who was absolutely glowing at the moment, with a content smile on her face as she hummed to herself. When she had mentioned to Kurenai that she had 3 years of sexual frustration she needed to go through, she was not exaggerating in the slightest, since she had Naruto in his bed for days on end. And human stamina made it so he didn't have to stop at all, and made sure by the time he was done with her that she was cross-eyed with her tongue sticking out of her mouth. That was just weird to read. It had been 3 months since his appearance at Konoha that left the village in such disarray, since 1/3 of the village had been destroyed. While Hinata was stuck in bed, passed out in a sexual coma, Naruto had been busy wandering the rest of the vast area that made the land of the dead. Now, don't call me weird. I'm not the author of the story, so I did not write that. That is weird. This place acted as the plains of Limbo in the past, and so he wanted it to be so once more, once the full order of the universe was restored. And now that he thought about it, he needed a new Lord of Bones to run this place when this was all done. The place was vast, nearly infinite, with the possibility of expanding over time. He had taken the time to literally sever a huge continent-sized chunk of land by punching the ground hard at intervals that broke it away from the mainland to build his future home for the Nephilim. And as he was breaking apart the land to make it so, he found some things that had helped to restore order. The first thing he found was the skeletal remains of the giant serpent-like creatures that had once carried the Lord of Bones castle back when he had been around. It took some time, but with their remains, he was able to find their wandering souls. With them in hand, he was able to resurrect both of them, but made sure to make them far larger than before, since they were able to carry a castle. But now they were tasked to pull a continent far off into the air, so that lost souls who were meant to wander this place could not reach their home. He also found a seed within the sea of barren wasteland, which as he held it in his hand, he felt a greater power within it. Going off the memories of death from the past, he knew that the seed was from the tree of life itself, and as such was the gateway to other realms that he was incapable of getting to already. He planted a tree on another piece of land, one that was separated from the rest of the mainland, but was one that was separated from the rest of the mainland that was connected by a bridge. He knew there was he knew that there would have he knew that there would have to be someone to guard this place in the future from any souls that may try to head through it. But for the time being, there was there was no need since there was no one other than Hinata and himself. Hinata took care of the seed of the tree, which helped make it grow. And as she did, he put the finishing touches on this plane. The last thing he had found had surprised him immensely, since, according to Death's memories, all of them should have been dead. Yet, here in a magically sealed stasis capsule was a large female maker. He opened up the capsule. He opened the capsule up through his own power, my bad, and freed her from its confines. It took a bit, but she awoke from her slumber in due time. The maker's name was Allah. I don't know how to say that name. So I'm just gonna call her like I'm just gonna call her A. Not like the Raikage, but just A. Like the letter A. And she had been put to sleep in the capsule by her brother Valus, since he feared her for her safety during the apocalypse. And to make sure that no one found her, he had called in his only favor with the demon Vulgrim to hide it in the land of the dead. No one would think to look there, since makers did not end up in there. Since the makers did not end up there in death. Naruto went on to explain to her how the world was now, and that her services were needed to once more forge the seals that would place the barriers up to keep heaven and hell contained and separate from the other realms. She agreed to this, but she said that she would need to the forges in the forge lands to do so. Which he just smiled and said that she would be able to get there soon enough. But for the time being, he asked her if she could help build homes for his people to live in. She just laughed and told him that it was an easy task and began to do so. As she began to build what would become the home of his people, Naruto had taken the time to channel the souls he had collected from the Uchiha clan as well as the Konoha citizens into spiritual energy with that of a Nephilim. As he destroyed their souls to make energy, he heard their screams of rage at being denied their self-entitled place in heaven for the treatment of the demon in his youth. It took some time to complete the process, so but in the end, he was able to fully resurrect his clan into the newest generation of the Nephilim themselves. While they were stronger than they were when they were still alive, while they were stronger than they were when they're still alive, but since they did not have the power gifted to them by the Charred Council that was passed down from their weapons into the newest horsemen, the soul amulet, there's a lot of words missing in spells. There's a lot of words missing and a lot of spelling mistakes, so yeah, sometimes the sentences don't make sense, but that's what it said. While they were stronger than they were when they were still alive, but since they did not have the power gifted to them by the Charred Council that was passed down from their weapons into the newest horsemen, the soul amulet shattered once the process was done, since its purpose had been fulfilled. They were all happy to be alive again, even as they were. And out of the crowd came his mother, Kushina, who hugged them with all the love she could give, the tears flowed down, while the tears flowed from her eyes in streams. Naruto had simply hugged her back, with tears in his eyes as well. Once all the pleasantries were over with, they helped A with designing their homes. While they did this, Naruto took Hinata. Only after another bout of hardcore sexual intercourse, back to the realm of man to await the end of the battle that was set to happen shortly. He had thus keep a close eye on things, and even discreetly left vital information and even a complex seal to prevent their leader from tapping into the power of the Biju. He held for the rebels to aid them in ending the civil war once and for all. And here he sat on a hill awaiting the end. The rebels had the advantage from the aid he had given them, and while he would have liked to aid them himself in honor of his old friend Haku, he still had rules that he must abide by to maintain balance. The battle was long and bloody, with many casualties on both sides of it. As Naruto sat there, the souls of the dead flowed to him to judge as well as Hinata. Those who were worthy of heaven ascended, and those who weren't were cast down into the fiery depths of hell. But those with enough light in their souls for a chance of redemption were sent to the land of the dead to begin their journey of atonement. The wait was long, but finally the civil war ended, and the soul that Naruto was hoping for came in his grasp. "So we meet at last," said Naruto as the soul solidified into its human form. "Where am I?" asked the soul as it rubbed its head to try and make sense of all of this. "You are Yagura," said Naruto, "and you are nothing more than the spirit now. Your actions have caused many lives to suffer, and as it stands, your soul is darkened by your deeds. As you are now, your soul will be sent to the fiery depths of the hell." "But what I did was not my fault," said Yagura with a worried look on his face, since he did not want to suffer for an eternity for an action that was not of his own volition. "I was brainwashed into doing what I did. That person made me into a monster that so many people hated over my life." "I believe you," said Naruto calmly as he stood there. "But even though that may be true, your soul is still tainted. Yet I am here to offer you another choice." "And what is that choice?" "Since you are incapable of entering heaven because of this, my offer is to simply join me in helping restore the balance of the universe. Become one of the four horsemen alongside myself and my wife to save yourself from a fate you do not deserve." "What are the horsemen?" asked Yagura with a raised eyebrow, since he had never heard of such a thing in his lifetime. "There is much history to tell you," said Naruto with a bit of a sigh, since it would take a while for him to explain it to him. "But for the moment, all you really need to know is that long ago there were four horsemen that helped to maintain balance. One was the embodiment of death, and that is what I became when I died. There was Fury, who my wife has taken the title when she passed on. And there was war as well as strife. You were forced to start a war against those with bloodlines. As such, I believe you are perfect for the role as war." "You would offer me such power?" "I would," said Naruto as he unsealed the gauntlet of war himself. As he unsealed the gauntlet that war himself wore when he lived, and held it out towards Yagura. "Will you join us, brother?" Yagura grabbed the gauntlet that had been offered to him and held it in both of his hands, since it was fairly large. As he held it, He felt the power that was within it, the memories of war and his struggles to try and prove his innocence to a corrupt charred council. Yagura thought hard on whether or not he was worthy of such power. But it was that or either my bad. But it was either that or burn in hell for an eternity. So with his mind made up, he placed the gauntlet on his hand, and as he did, he screamed out in pain, as his very soul was solidified. The process took several minutes, but in the end, he was alive once more with an outfit similar to Ward's in the past, but it was tailored to his short height. He even held out his hand, and as he did, the sword of Chow Cedar appeared in his hands. Sorry if I butchered that name, but yeah. He twirled it once to get a feel for it once he sheathed it before he sheathed it back onto his back. Jaguar whistled, and as he did, his horse Ruin appeared from the ground in red flames. Jaguar jumped on and spurred his horse through a portal to his new home, but not before nodding at Naruto, in gratitude for offering him another choice like this. Konoha. For the past 3 months after the Kyuubi's second attack on the village had been in a complete state of despair. It had taken the full 3 months to fully repair what had been damaged when the Kyuubi was unleashed. It wouldn't have taken so long in the past, but the fact that they had no allies to aid them for supplies only made the process far slower than it should have been. But now that the village was repaired back to what it was before the attack, the heads of the village were now in the meeting room to discuss what to do now. The fire daimyo had helped them repair the damage done to the village since he had supported their cruel and unethical actions over the years. He had been assured that the former Jinchuriki would be brought to heel, and that by doing so would be able to take everything of value that belonged to Naruto when the time came for him to legally acquire it. Unlike the Fire Daimyo's predecessor, this one did not believe any Jinchuriki were deserving of being labeled humans, and it was the same for any variation of them. This included what Naruto had become since his execution, that the daimyo had signed off since he had been told that the plan was not working as it should have, and he was becoming too strong to control as he was. So he wished to squash any kind of rights he may have had to claim on the family's holdings. Sure, his shinobi village lost its weapon against the others, but since Naruto was now dead, and there were no other Uzumaki to claim the clan's belongings, he simply had to wait 3 years for them to be able to legally take the former country and riches that had gained interest over the years in the Fire Country's bank in the capital. To the Fire Daimyo, all Jinchuriki were considered abominations, tools to be used in war, and only to be used as a last resort when the war escalated. Until then, a shinobi village could do whatever they wanted to the Jinchuriki, provided it wasn't betraying him in some way or usurping his rule over the country that he ruled. The only reason Kushina or Uzumaki Mito weren't treated like that was due to the previous Fire Daimyos and the family of both Jinchuriki being there for them while keeping their status as Jinchuriki a secret. The current Fire Daimyo had no intention of being like them, and so he had allowed the brat to suffer to stamp out his will to fight back, so that when he came later in life to meet him in person, He would tell Naruto a lie to get him to foolishly sign away his inheritance in return for personal security so the villagers couldn't hurt him anymore. It was a lie, since he wasn't going to embrace the Jinchuriki and friendship like his father and his father before him would have done in his place. No, he would now simply wait to get what he wanted. But that plan was destroyed simply a week ago. The rebuilding of Konoha had nearly bankrupted their country since after the death after Naruto's death, none of the other countries wanted to do business with a place that killed off a hero such as him. So the timing of the sudden increase of wealth was perfect to not only refill their treasury, but obtain even more funds than they had in the first place. He had counted the days with glee, with only a week and a half left to claim his prize. Yet, out of the blue, an armed escort from Suna led by Gaara and his sister had arrived in the capital to meet with him. The Fire Daimyo had at first thought they had come to discuss the means of a new alliance, but that was not the case. They had come and showed him the signed deed to all that had belonged to the Uzumaki clan. The Fire Daimyo had been absolutely livid about what he presumed was a theft of what was rightfully his to claim, but they had a signed deed which had been signed by Naruto himself, so there wasn't a damn thing that he could do about it. So he was forced to watch as they cleaned out the vault that held all their money within it. The Fire Daimyo was so tempted to attack them and claim it for himself, but a couple of major reasons stopped him from doing that. The first being that Gaara would simply kill him as a Jinchuriki. He would be unstoppable. My bad. The first being that Gaara would simply kill him, and as a Jinchuriki, he would be unstoppable. And the second was that even though his country was not at war at the moment, if he attacked the Suna escort, it would become an international crisis, and everybody would join together to fight them. And as they left with what they came for, the Fire Daimyo could only look on in pure rage, since there was nothing else he could do. While there had been a meeting immediately following the attack on Konoha by Naruto, it had been mostly about how to repair the village as quickly as possible so as to not be caught unprepared if another village decided to attack them from out of the blue. From what Jiraiya's spy network was able to learn, both Iowa and as well as Kumo wanted to do that. But by the time they came up with a plan of attack, Konoha was back to what it was once. My bad. I said that so bad. Both Iowa as well as Kumo wanted to do that. But by the time they came up with a plan of attack, Konoha was back to what it was once. So they lost the advantage and aborted the plan for now. Now that the village wasn't being threatened due to massive damage, they were able to discuss far more pressing matters. How is that brat even still alive? Growled Sum as they discussed the pressing matter by the name of Naruto. She had always hated the brat while he was still alive. She had been in love with the Yodaime Hokage, even before he became the Hokage, and was jealous of Kushina for having his attention like many other women in the village. She had grown very upset with the way her life had gone following marrying her inferior husband that was via an arranged marriage set up by her mother, and was always furious as she saw how Minato was with Kushina the whole time instead of her. In her mind, she could have given him a child, if not wishing her two children were his, and he was living with them. While raising them as a family. After the Kyuubi did attack, She instantly knew that Naruto was their child, so she planned to get the entire clan to hate and abuse him. She would exact revenge on the Kyuubi for killing the Yodaime and against for loving and against Kushina for loving him and marrying him in secret. Not to mention Naruto being their child was an insult to her in her eyes. And that said insult had to be fixed. We killed him in front of everyone. He should be burning in hell right now. Sum had been on a mission during the wedding, so she had not seen the images that Naruto had shown them. Plus she heard that her son was killed by the brat she hated with all her heart, which made the situation worse for her already enraged emotions. He somehow acquired the power of the Shinigami in death, said Tsunade as she rubbed her head in frustration since she had tried to figure out how the brat was alive for 3 months with the help of Jiraiya. And while she got an answer from Naruto himself when he crashed the wedding, she still didn't fully understand it. So he has somehow overthrown the Order Shinigami and taken his position. So if we were to prepare a proper means to start at Shikaku and Deep Thought, which is Shikamaru's dad, not the Biju, we could summon the kid here and seal him away with the proper skills and turn him into a weapon for our village once more. And also gave the Kyuubi as well, since he controls it somehow with his gauntlet, if what I have heard was right. That actually does sound like a good plan, said Jiraiya as he thought about it. But I think that we will need the aid of being on the same level as Naruto is now. So what are you suggesting exactly? Said Inoichi. Simple, said Jiraiya. We summon the Shinigami, the former one to be exact, to aid us. The people in the room, looked at him in shock once he said that, since in their minds this idea was truly and utterly insane. Jiraiya, said Tsunade, must I have you sent to a mental ward? Because out of all the things I have heard come out of your mouth, that has got to be the most insane thing I have ever heard you say in your life. I'm not as crazy as you think, said Jiraiya as he shook his head. But think about it fully. If Naruto somehow took the mantle as Shinigami, then that means the former one will more than likely be pissed that his power was taken from him and would appreciate the assist to knock Naruto down a peg or two. So I say we summon him and offer our assistance on the issue. But summoning the Shinigami requires the soul of a living person, said Choza, finally getting into this discussion. So who would be willing to sacrifice themselves to summon the deity? That's easy. We will use Sasuke for the sacrifice, said Jiraiya with a serious look on his face as he said it. To hell you will, shouted Sasuke as he stood up in defiance of what was being said. When Naruto had returned him years ago, the village had done all in its power to appease him, so that he would not think about trying to defect again, since they needed the Sharingan in the village now more than ever, since their Jinchuriki was dead and gone. They had given him a seat as the clan head of the Uchiha clan, even though he was the only one within the village, along with the arranged marriage to Hinata. They all knew Sasuke was not marrying her out of love, but as a way to stick it to Naruto in some way. But they didn't care about her feelings on the matter, and they just wanted her to be forced into submission. Sasuke would have most likely done something brash at this moment, but to ambush but two Anbus suddenly appeared behind him and restrained him. They cuffed him with chakra suppression cuffs so he wouldn't struggle so much. And they did their job fairly. And they did their job fairly well since he wasn't even able to change his eyes and activate his Sharingan. I agree with this idea, said Shibi, calmly as his clan was known to do. You effing traitor, shouted Sasuke in rage that someone who for years had supported him just suddenly stopped doing so. Well then, said Tsunade as she got the attention of all the people in the meeting. All in favor of using Sasuke as the sacrifice for the Shinigami to help take out Naruto? Sasuke's anger only grew massively when he saw everyone in the room raise their hands. The Haruno councilwoman had been hesitant in doing so since she had tried to get her daughter to seduce him for years to gain the political power from such a union as well as assets to his fortune left from the mostly dead Uchiha clan. But she realized that Sasuke was not worth all the death and destruction that had befallen them from his actions, and finally raised her hand as well along with the others. How dare you betray me? Seized Sasuke through his gritted teeth. He was beyond livid at this point, especially after seeing Sakura's mom, of all people, turn on him like this. He could only mentally curse the fact that Danzo, as well as his lackeys, had been killed off by Naruto. He could only mentally curse the fact that Danzo, as well as his lackeys, had been killed off by Naruto, because if they were here, then they would have railed the councils towards his side. But without them here to help him, he was all alone and not in control of the situation right now. Betray you? Said Jiraiya with a scowl on his face. Odd choice of words coming from you, Sasuke, since you have literally betrayed this village once already. It's because of your past actions that we are in such a state of depression, like we are now. When you tried to defect from our village, Naruto had to bring you back, and by doing so showed us he was stronger than we wanted him to be. So he had to be eliminated before he was too strong to control. Before we killed him, all the alliances and trading routes he acquired for us, because we killed him, all the alliances and trading routes he acquired for us ended. You hurt our village's economy beyond recovery. That's not even his fault, it's your fault. You should have never killed Naruto in the first place. Kinda stupid to blame it on someone else when, you executed him for no reason. Anyways, you hurt our village's economy beyond recovery. But to make it all worse was the fact that we forgave you because of those eyes of yours, which were meant to strengthen our village, but in the end, did nothing. We gave you what you wanted to keep you here. And when Naruto returned to save Hinata from our forced marriage to you, he offered us a chance to avoid bloodshed if we just gave her up. And yet, in your infinite wisdom, you killed her in front of him. You killed the woman he loved right in front of his very eyes. And in retaliation, he summoned the Kyuubi and caused massive destruction that killed so many. They should be grateful to die for an Uchiha elite such as me. No, they shouldn't, said Tsunade as she got up and punched him in the gut before she knocked him out with a quick chop to the back of the head. Jiraiya, make the preparations immediately. It's finally time for this little to die. Will do, said Jiraiya as he lifted Sasuke up and slung him over his shoulder, while the meeting dispersed to tell the masses what was being planned in the near future. Not a single one of them noticed the raven that was outside, perched on a tree, as it flew off to report back to its master. Land of the Dead. Naruto had just finished making his home the way he wanted it. with soundproof walls since his clan were complaining about Hinata's screams from the constant sexual intercourse she had all she had all but demanded from him. Sure, they were happy that their clan member was a woman he loves, but when their late night bouts kept them up. But when their late night bouts kept them up at night, they started to grow pissed. So he obliged them since he wasn't an a-hole. he he was he was at this moment hanging up a Volgrim totem in the garden area behind his home. It had surprised Naruto to no end that even in death, that Hinata had found a way with nature that was only amplified with her transformation into a horseman. It was because of her that the tree of life had taken root and began to grow faster than it would have normally. She was also the reason that even though their continent was taken from the land of the dead, it now flourished with green and looked more alive. Naruto had found one of these totems in the land of the dead for anything else that might have been used to him. And he stumbled upon this. While Naruto was basically the Shinigami of this world, being the horseman of death, but Bulgrim was still a merchant of souls, and there was no shortage of foolish mortals who bargained them to obtain their selfish desires. And so it was always a good idea to have access to Vulgrim whenever, for whatever the reason that might pop up in the future. Naruto had just finished setting things up when he saw what Dust had seen in the realm of Eden. He began to laugh to himself as Hinata walked up behind him. "What has gotten you in such a good mood?" asked Hinata as she leaned against the wall near him. "It's just that the village has done exactly what I expected them to do after all the crap they have gone through," said Naruto with a smirk. "And what exactly was it that you were expecting?" asked Yagura, who had appeared as well to talk with his newly acquired siblings. "It's just that after losing so much for supporting Sasuke after all these years, that the village has finally had enough and decided to use him as a sacrifice to try to seal me in a way that would control me. And they honestly believe that would work," asked Hinata in surprise since it was a foolish idea in every way. "They are desperate at this point," said Naruto with a shrug of his shoulders, "and they would try anything to protect themselves." "So, what are we going to do about it?" asked Yagura. "Simple," said Naruto as he channeled power into his hand and blasted it at the totem he had just set up, which caused it to light up with power. "I'm going to call on the help of an old friend." Before the totem, a ring of blue fire appeared, and out of the center of it came Vulgrim with his sinister grin on his face. "Ah," said Vulgrim as he clicked his fingers together. "I was wondering when we would meet face to face once more, spirit, or should I say, horseman now." "I'm not here to speak on such matters," said Naruto with a wave of his hand. "I'm simply here to ask you a favor. You know that my price is a soul. While I would usually agree to those terms, the situation kind of negates the need for the deal." "Oh," said Vulgrim with a hint of curiosity. "And how is that?" "The village of Konoha is going to summon you in a vain attempt to try and control me. They have even selected someone to sacrifice to get your help." "Truly?" asked Vulgrim with a bit of a chuckle. They honestly believe that I have the power to gift them so they can control you. Oh, the minds of such mortals. They will never truly understand how things work here. They're idiots. You know this better than I do. You have been around for so long and dealt with numerous amounts of them throughout history. So, what is it that you want from me exactly? Asked Volgrim, since he was generally curious as to what Naruto had to say here. Simply to give them these, as Naruto tossed two scrolls. My bad. Said Naruto as he tossed two scrolls towards him. What are these? Asked Volgrim in curiosity. Those are the two seals I made since I knew they would try this route at one point or another, said Naruto with a grin. The first one will lightly bind me, so they will believe I am under their power when it appears that I can't move out of my own volition. The second seal is essential. The second seal is essential. The means to summon me, since the usual way of summoning the Shinigami calls you and not me. Offer them these and get another soul out of it, since you are giving them two things. Said Volgrim in thought. He had to admit that Naruto did present a perfect opportunity here. You make a good point, so I will do as you ask. Is that all you require of me? Yes, it is, said Naruto as he began to walk away. Then I bid you goodbye until we meet again, said Volgrim as he vanished in the same manner as he appeared in the first place. The flames died out immediately as he vanished. So what are we gonna do now? Asked Jagara as they followed along behind him. Simple, said Naruto as he opened a portal to the realm of Eden. We are going to recruit the last horseman to join us. So who will be the person to take up the mantle of strife? Asked Hinata as she made her way towards the portal to follow Naruto. All in good time, said Naruto with a smile as they stepped through the portal. And the portal closed behind them. Ame. As all of this was happening, the remaining members of the Akatsuki were meeting up to discuss what they were going to do in the future. They were still suffering from a major issue of the fact that all 9 Biju were needed to fulfill their plan, and Naruto who was alive when all reports said he was dead. They still tried to fully understand as well as grasp that bit of information. Had come stolen 2 of them. What? They still tried to fully understand as well as grasp that bit of information. Had come and stolen 2 of them. I don't know what that means. And now that the Mizukage was killed sooner than they wanted, since now with the rebels victorious, they would be able to recover within a year or two. The members that remained were arguing on what exactly to do to remedy the situation, with most of them stating that they should find Naruto and take the Biju he had by force. Others were in agreement, but thought that they should capture the others first before they tried to attack Naruto as a group. Yet before they can come to any sort of senses, a portal opened up before them, and out of it came 3 figures, with one of them being the very person that they were talking about. So here's where you have all hidden yourselves away from the world, said Naruto as he stood there with his arms crossed across his chest, while Hinata and Yagura were more battle ready with their weapons at the ready. These were all S-rank shinobi after all, so it was good to be wary of them. Naruto was more accustomed to being a Nephilim since he had been one for 3 years, but they were still going off of instinct here and not fully grasping the fact that only demonic weapons forged in hell or angelic weapons forged in heaven could hurt them. "So you have come to fight us," said Pain, as well as the other members of the Akatsuki got their weapons ready for a fight. "Well, you will find that we are not so easily killed." "Hinata, Yagura," said Naruto with a sigh. "Kill the others. Their souls are too dark for any form of redemption. I will deal with these three," he said the last bit, which they understood that he meant Pain, Konan, and as well as Itachi. "Will do," said Yagura as he unsheathed Chao Cedar. "I am so going to enjoy this very much," said Hinata as she pulled out the hilt of scorn and watched as the rest of it appeared as she whipped it around a few times. "I'll take the talking fish and the crazy priest. You take the weird-looking one and the dumbass in the shadows who doesn't think we can sense him there." "Oh," growled Kisame as he prepared to attack Hinata with his blade. He hated to be called a fish of any sort. "You are so effing dead." "Your death will please Jashin," said Hidan as he began to twirl his scythe on its chain. He spun it for a few more seconds before he threw it at Hinata, who simply tilted her head a bit to dodge it and then grabbed the chain and pulled Hidan towards her. She solidified Scorn into a full sword and stabbed him through the chest and heart before he could do anything else. She then threw his body to the side and used Scorn to block Kisame's blade. She smirked as it extended and circled around Samihara. "What the hell is this?" asked Kisame, since he had never seen a blade like hers before in his life. It appeared to have a mind of its own, like his blade did. "A weapon that is quite beyond your understanding," said Hinata with a smirk as she pulsed magical power through it. Scorn began to tighten its hold on Samihara to the point where it was audibly cracking. "What's going on? Samihara's in pain. Screaming literally in pain. What is that weapon?" thought Kisame as he blocked another slash. Hinata swiped at him and took a kick through the ribs that sent him flying back quite a bit. He got his footing back fairly quick and tried to slash at her once more, but Hinata had enough of that at this point and grabbed the blade with her bare hands. He got his footing back fairly quick and tried to slash at her once more, but Hinata had enough of that at this point and grabbed the blade with her bare hands. She yanked it hard enough to rip out Kisame's hand and threw it to the ground. Scorn then transformed into the mallet form, and she then swung it down onto the blade. Kisame could do nothing more than cry out in protest as Samihara shattered into hundreds of pieces from the force of the blow. He would have done something else, but Hinata capitalized on his shock of losing his blade in such a fashion to shift her weapon's form once more into a lance and speared him through the heart. If that alone wasn't enough to kill him, the lightning that surged through it electrocuted his internal organs from the trick. My bad. If that wasn't enough alone to kill him, the lightning that surged through it and electrocuted his internal organs did the trick. Kisame died a very painful death. Kisame died with a very painful look on his face before Hinata conjured up a fireball to burn the body to ash. Hinata swiped her blade a few times to whip the fresh blood off of it, and was going to put it away when out of nowhere a three-bladed scythe was thrown at her once again. This surprised her since she had thought that she had taken care of the priest already. But she saw him standing there with a pissed look on his face as he saw his weapon had done no physical damage to her whatsoever. Hinata just smirked as she made sure to kill him this time by wrapping Hidan up with scorn and yanking back hard on the hilt so that it would cut him to pieces. This should have been enough, but even in pieces, Hidan was cursing at her with every foul word he could think of. To say that Hinata was shocked was a vast understatement, since he should not be able to be alive right now. But she looked closer with her eyes to see how he was still breathing. One of the major perks of becoming a Nephilim was the fact that she had all the abilities from her bloodline still, but her eyes were more powerful and able to see things, such as what she saw now. Hidan was tainted with demonic energy that was keeping him alive. With her eyes, she was able to see a little impish demon that was keeping him alive. It would appear that this was the so-called god Joshi. Hinata had heard from Naruto that demons revealed in blood and shed. Hinata had heard from Naruto that demons reveled in bloodshed since they thrived on it and grew stronger when a contract was made. When a contract was made like the one he made with Hidan. So a simple burst of magical energy concentrated at him. Joshi exploded into goo from it. Hidan finally succumbed to his wounds and died. Yagura was having just as easy fight as Yagura was having just as easy of a fight as Hinata was. He had slight trouble against fighting Zetsu, who tried to remain hidden, but Yagura literally punched through the floor and grabbed the plant man by the head and pulled him up. The dark side of him quickly crawled up his arm and tried to cover him, but all this did was infuriate Yagura, so he pulled out his cross blade and threw it above him. The winds that shot out from the spinning blasted it off of my bad. The winds that shot out from the spinning blade blasted Zetsu off of him. It tried to run away and to regroup with the other half, but Yagura threw out an abyssal chain that pierced through its head, thus killing Kaguya's will. Yagura pulled the corpse towards him and sliced it in half before he quickly charged towards Kakuzu. The man ejected 4 of his hearts to hold Yagura down with their tendrils. Once again, this only pissed off Yagura as he unleashed the power of his abyssal form to incinerate all 4 hearts that held him. He then summoned up his weapon Harvester, one of Death's sights, and threw it. It spun through the air towards Kakuzu while at an angle that would still hit the right side of Zetsu. Zetsu easily dodged the scythe, but was quickly killed afterwards via decapitation via Chowseer. Kakuzu tried to dodge the weapon thrown at him, and initially succeeded since it missed him, but was unaware of the void portal that Yagura opened up behind him as well as above him. His weapon then went through one portal and came out the one above him, slicing him in half and destroying Kakuzu's final heart, killing him. As you see, said Naruto, as he was aware of the death surrounding him, but then again, none of their opponents had the means to kill them. You are no threat to us, but I came here not to fight you, but simply to talk to you about the future. Itachi wasn't one to really listen and quickly activated his Mangekyo Sharingan. Once he activated it, he summoned up his Susanoo and tried to attack Naruto with his blade. Naruto simply sighed as he summoned up a spectral hand that grabbed the blade and held it in place. Pain used his Rinnegan to try and force Naruto to his knees, but that didn't work, nor did the few hundred explosive tags launched at him from Konan using her bloodline. Naruto was unfazed by all of this and simply sighed even harder when they continued to try and defeat him. As they used all in their power to try to kill him, his group finished killing the targets, With a quick wave of his hands, they went to capture the last member of the Akatsuki who was at this moment fleeing the area since he knew that there was no hope of being his current opponents at the moment. Naruto simply stood in place as his three opponents threw everything and anything that they could at him. Hell, even Itachi used his Amaterasu flames to burn him, but that didn't work either. "So are you done here?" said Naruto finally as he saw the three of them heavily breathing from chakra exhaustion. "Because this is getting old." Sasuke did the same thing that Itachi did, with the end results being far more destructive. "I told you, I simply want to talk with you, and it is for that reason alone that I don't strike back at you, since I don't want to kill you." "Fine," said Pain, as all six of his bodies looked at him. "Speak then." Not to one of your puppets, Nagato," said Naruto as he pointed in the direction of where his real body was, "but only to the real you. So will you please come out here? So we can have a civil conversation between former clan members?" Konan left the room to go and get him, while Naruto was left alone with Itachi. "I sense so much conflict in your mind," said Naruto as Itachi looked at him with a calculating look. "And I have to say that I understand why you are like this." "What do you know about my problem?" said Itachi with a bit of a growl, which made Naruto smirk, since for as long as he has known him, as well as heard about him being next to emotionless, your entire life has been thrown out of proportion. You were loyal to a village that was corrupted beyond redemption. You were forced to pick to remain loyal to either your clan that was planning to cause a coup and enslave the people of the village in their vain views of clan superiority in the village that has done so many horrible things to maintain its so-called rightful place as being the strongest of the five shinobi villages. You picked what you assumed was the lesser of the two evils. But in truth, there was no right answer to your choice, and you were cursed to pick it anyways. You spared your little brother from death in hopes that he would be your clan's redemption, but the village you protected saw fit to use him as they used you, me, and so many others over the years. They spoiled him rotten so that they can control him in becoming another you, but one they could control over time. The darkness in his heart is so black that there is no possible way for him to be redeemed. His actions have doomed him. His actions have doomed not just himself, but have killed so many people before their time. Itachi heard all that was being said to him, and with every detail Naruto spoke to him, another tear fell from his eyes. He had wanted to redeem his clan so much and willingly became a villain just to set his plan in action. But all that he had done had crumbled due to both the corruptive nature of the village he once called home, as well as his own little brother's greed and arrogance. "So much conflict," said Naruto as he walked around Itachi until he was behind him. He leaned in close to whisper the next words. "So much strife." Itachi grew angry as he heard that and attacked Naruto with a kunai, but Naruto stopped him by using two of his fingers alone. My bad. "I'm well within my rights to kill you, Itachi," said Naruto with eyes that were even more emotionless than Itachi himself was ever able to show. "For those who attack death only hasten their own. As you are now, your soul would be sent to limbo to end wondrously for so long before you found your redemption. But I have an offer for you to make, but I have an offer for you to help make all this right. Itachi looked at him with a raised eyebrow as Naruto said that. A long time ago, there were 4 powerful beings, known as the Horsemen, who kept balance in the universe. But an event known as the Apocalypse occurred, and the Horsemen died in the end. With their death, the balance of the universe unraveled, and there was no form of order. But with my death, I became reborn as the first horseman, as the first of the horsemen known as Death. In time, I have found 2 others to replace the others. But there's still one we need to fill. But there's still one more we need to fill in. The position. And what position is that? The Horseman of Strife, said Naruto as he pulled out Mercy and Redemption and held them towards Itachi. You always dreamed of helping maintain balance, and now I am offering you a chance to do just that. So will you join us, brother? Itachi looked at the weapons Naruto was holding out and honestly considered the offer that was given to him. It took a minute for him to decide, but in the end, he took them from Naruto. Itachi felt power flow through his body as he transformed into the last of the Nephilim. His body became covered in a gray metallic armor that was once worn by the former Strife. His new outfit was complete when the helmet formed in his hand, and he donned it on his face. And as he did, his eyes changed color from red to gold. Itachi then took his pistols and tore them for a bit before he holstered them. He then walked through the portal that Naruto opened for him to walk through. As the portal closed up, Konan returned with Nagato. Where did Itachi go? Asked Nagato weakly as he saw that only Naruto remained in the room. He took up an offer I gave him, said Naruto as he smiled, and with him doing so, helped set the balance in order. But that is not of your concern, Nagato. Then what is it exactly that you have to come and talk with me about? Said Nagato, who was genuinely curious about what he wanted from him. But before this question could be answered, Hinata and Yagura returned with their target wrapped up and bound in chains. The man they had bound was none other than Obito Uchiha. Unhand me this instant, he said as he struggled to break free from the chains that bound him. Obito Uchiha, scowled Naruto as he looked at the man who started his life of hell with his actions years ago. Obito's attack on his parents set in motion their deaths, thus robbing him of genuine caretakers and left him in the hands of people who either hated his guts for what was sealed within him, or people who wanted nothing more than to make him a weapon. You have caused me to live a life of hell that words lack the meaning of explaining. And I would do it all again, growled Obito as he glared at Naruto. For I would do anything to have my Rin back. You see, I hate you with every fiber of my being for the fact that your actions caused me to suffer for so long in life. And I would like nothing more than to end your life right here and now. But I'm not going to, since, to be honest, I should thank you. When Naruto said the last bit, it caused Obito to look at him with a bit of confusion, since that was not something he expected to hear in this situation. Because I suffered as I did and died when I did, I was reborn into what you see before you, with the power to fix balance of this world. And with and it is with this power that I am able to see your very soul. And from what I have seen, we are more alike than you could imagine. And just how in the hell could we be similar in any way? We both would do anything for the ones we love. We were willing to kill so many. You were willing to kill so many for years, and I came back from death itself to save my own precious person. You have done many terrible things in your life, but even so, your soul is capable of redemption. Obito's eyes Obito's eyes opened wide in shock as he heard this. He had feared that after all done in his life, he was doomed for an eternity in hell. But to hear that he still had a chance gave him hope for the future. So you wish to be with your loved one once more, Obito? Then seek your redemption. End this quest of yours to force everyone into an illusion just so you can be End this quest of yours to force everyone into an illusion just so you can be with her. Find a new path so that when you die, you can ascend instead of fall. This is your one and only chance to see Rin once more, and she hopes you'll take it. Obito looked down as tears fell from his one good eye. But once he looked up and nodded in understanding, the chains that bounded him fell off, and he got back to his feet. He politely bowed towards Naruto, and then left to start a new life for himself, one free of all the hate he once possessed. Naruto would not see him again for years to come, since he would die an old man. And then there were two, said Naruto as he looked at Nagato and Konan. If Obito did such horrible things as you claimed, asked Konan, then why would you let him go like that? Because I am deaf. I'm neither good nor evil. I take all who perish despite what they have done. When someone is worthy of redemption, I give them the chance to achieve it, since they deserve it. Only those whose souls are blackened, I kill personally. Fortunate for you two, you are not like that. So I have come with an offer like I made with Obito. And what offer is that? Like Obito, you both have done horrible things, but you did it in the name of peace, so there is not much darkness to weigh down your souls. So I offer you the chance to change your ways to live a life worth living. Restart our clan and love them like we were known to do. If you promise me that you will abandon this pointless mission, then I can offer you an item that will heal you so that you no longer need the device you are stuck in. And what item could possibly heal me of this? Asked Nagato in genuine curiosity. This, said Naruto as he held out a glowing green flask and tossed it towards them, to which Konan caught it. This is a health potion, one that will heal you back to pristine health. And why should we believe you? Asked Konan. Since you claim to be death itself, why would you offer something that heals us? Because I didn't make the damn thing. Nagato's parents are the ones who brewed it, with their son in mind, as they did. They know what you have gone through as well as done. What? They know what you have gone through as well as done, and wanted to help you. Help you so your soul doesn't become blackened over time. My parents made this, whispered Naruto as he grabbed the flask for himself. Indeed they did, said Naruto as he opened a portal back to his home. And whether or not you take it is your choice. Your life is your own to live. But I, as well as the rest of our clan, hopes hopes you will live on to carry in our memory. My bad. But as well as 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 well as the rest of our clan hopes you live on to carry our memory. You are the last Uzumaki to exist. There was another young woman, but Orochimaru got his hands on her, and she died on his operating table in a vain attempt to use her genetics to attain immortality. So, what do you wish, Nagato? So do what you wish, Nagato. But we hope that you make the right choice. Naruto walked through the portal. Followed by Yagura as well as Hinata, after he said that, with it closing behind them. All that was left was Konan and Nagato, who looked at the flash given to them and wondered what to do. That is the end of the chapter. Sorry for all the words I repeated and me stumbling over my words, but there's just a lot of spelling mistakes, and sometimes I will skip words, so sorry about that. But anyways, that's the end of the chapter. The next part of this series will be the last part. So, anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. Bye.